It's just a public service announcement, sponsored by Just Blaze and the good folks at Rockefeller Records.
Fellow Americans, it is with the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho, H to the O-V. I used to move snowflakes by the OZ.
What's up? It's Noah Taborda here on Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago. It's our 10th episode. Yeah, that's right. We're through 10 episodes. That's 10 weeks. It's been a pretty long time. I'm here with my co-host, Blake Devine. How you doing, Blake?
Pretty good. Glad to be here for our 10th episode. Can't believe it's already been 10, but definitely thank you guys for all listening to our episodes.
Yeah, so we are now at, let me get this drum. We are now at 922 total plays. So that puts us 78 away from 1,000. So listener number 78, you will be our 1,000th listener. That'd be an average of 100 per episode if we only got 78 this week. But obviously shooting for 100, as we did get 103 on our last one. That'll make 2 weeks in a row, so we're doing really well.
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening. And also, if you'd like to call into our show today, call 224-563-8444. So that's 3 4s at the end. I'm going to say that one more time. 224-563-8444. So if you'd like to call in and share your opinion, totally welcome, and we'd be glad to hear it. Then also tweet us at hashtag Blake, or no, not hashtag, at Blake_and_Noah, and that's for Twitter. And then like our Facebook page, Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago on Facebook. And with that, let's get started on our episode today. And we're going to start with the hottest news, which is the postseason in Major League Baseball. So far, the Dodgers and Cardinals, the NLCS series, it's 2-0 heading into the Monday night game in Los Angeles, where we're going to have a pitching matchup between Hyun-Jin Ryu of the Dodgers and Adam Wainwright of the Cardinals. So this is going to be a very, very good game, and I really expect the Dodgers to come out strong in this one. Noah, what were your kind of assessments based on the first two games? We had the extra inning game the first night, and then the next morning a very good pitching duel, which was won by Wacha of the Cardinals. Yeah,
well, first of all, Michael Wacha has been phenomenal these playoffs. He absolutely shut down the Pirates in the NLDS, but I'm very surprised with the performance of the Dodgers. I was expecting a little more from them. Yasiel Puig has just been shut out, and I guess you can attribute that to the terrific pitching of the Cardinals, but the Dodgers have been unable to get across the runs. What is it? They've barely been able to score. What is that, 1 or 2 runs now this series? The Cardinals also struggling, but they're getting the runs when it matters. The Dodgers really have to get some runs, because if they go down 3-0, I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, and just to add to that, they batted 184 in the first 2 games on the road, including 1 for 16 with runners in scoring positions. So very, very interesting statistics, to say the least, considering they were just their offense looked very, very good versus the Atlanta Braves in the NLDS series earlier.
Yeah, so they're going to be playing tomorrow, I believe. Yes, they'll be playing tomorrow, and obviously, as you said, Ryu will be going to the mound. And Ryu hasn't been the best, I guess you could say, in his performances in the playoffs. His only game so far against Atlanta, he only went 3 innings pitched, allowed 4 earned runs on 6 hits, and was only able to strike out 1 person. So it was not his best. He's definitely going to look for a bounce-back performance. Meanwhile, opposing him, Adam Wainwright, who has only allowed now 2 earned runs. He went up against Pittsburgh twice, so he's been on top of his game. He pitched a complete game in his last outing with 8 hits and 1 earned run. So he's definitely pitching well. It's going to be a tough game for the Dodgers. But if Yasiel Puig can break out of his mini slump, I'm going to take the Dodgers in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe in this team and their offense. Obviously, they lost with their 2 top pitchers, Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw. But Ryu was very good during the regular season. Had a rough start in his first postseason start, but I do believe that he can help the Dodgers turn it around and hopefully get some victories at home versus the Cardinals. And with that, we'll move on to the ALCS. which is currently getting played right now between the Red Sox and Tigers, Game 2 at Fenway Park. But let's recap on the game last night, which was quite the pitching duel as well. We had 2 1-0 games yesterday, which was the first time that's happened in quite some time. And it was really dominated by Detroit's starting pitcher, Anibal Sanchez, who had the Dodgers no-hit, but he did give up 6 walks, which was his highest total this season. But they had some excellent pitching throughout the game, and they were able to defeat my Boston Red Sox 1-0 in a painful game where our high-powered offense was just absolutely shut down, and I believe there were 15 strikeouts, if I'm correct. So, Noah, what did you think about this Game 1, and what do you think it's going to lead to in Game 2?
Well, here's the thing. You go immediately to the first inning, and the Red Sox have a man on second and first. So both, they've got their runners on with only 1 out and then 2 straight strikeouts. So that would be 3 strikeouts in that inning for Sanchez. So they have an opportunity there. Then in the second inning, they've got a man on first and second with 2 outs. They can't get anybody across. You go down. There's not much going on. Lots of strikeouts. Then you have a man on third, a man on second, bases loaded with 2 outs. They can't get anything going. So they're out of that again. And they had so many opportunities earlier in the game. And then, of course, in the 9th inning, a man on second before Xander Bogaerts, the talented prospect, popped out to the shortstop. But they had so many opportunities, men in scoring position. You had the bases loaded situation, and they couldn't get runs across. And the Tigers, they weren't great either. They had opportunities as well, especially in the top of the 9th with a man on second and third. But they did manage to get that run in the 6th inning, and that's all they would need. Red Sox, didn't get the runs across, and that's one of the most important things in the playoffs. When you have the opportunities, you have to capitalize on them.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, the Red Sox really squandered an outing in which their ace, John Lester, battled through 5+ innings of shutout baseball and only gave up 1 run in 6 1/3 of innings pitched. So he had a great outing, but still, despite this, the Red Sox offense was just unable to capitalize with a lot of runners in scoring position despite not getting hits.
Yeah, it's similar to the Clayton Kershaw game. Both 1-0 games. Lester and Kershaw both had terrific outings, only 1 earned run both, and they both lose. And as a White Sox fan, it reminds me of Chris Sale. Every game he goes out there, he'll allow 1, maybe 2 runs, but we don't give him the run support. And that's what this game seemed like. And they've all been pitchers' battles, and all the pitchers remaining really have impressed. So that's pretty good. But, as you said, John Lester was terrific, and they just couldn't get it done. The batters couldn't get it done, and it's tough for a guy like Lester to lose home field advantage because of that loss. Now they're gonna be at home. They're at home today, and then of course they're gonna have to go to Detroit for 3 games in a row. So that won't be easy. It gets tough from here. They've definitely got to pull this game out today. Otherwise, I think the Tigers are definitely the front runners in the series.
Yeah, and with the game tonight that's currently getting played, I believe it's the bottom of the first inning, 0-0. No surprises there because of the pitching matchup. We have Max Scherzer, who finished with a 21-3 record. I'm not sure his earned run average, but I know it was around 2.7, I believe. He is the favorite for the Cy Young in the AL. And then you have him going against Clay Buchholz, who had incredible numbers in the few games which he pitched. 12-1 with, I believe, under 2 ERA, so like somewhere in the 1.8 zone. And he only made 18 starts on the season. So you can make the argument that he could have won the AL Cy Young if he had played as many games as Max Scherzer did. This is going to be quite the pitching matchup as well. Surprising considering both the Tigers and the Red Sox have some very good offenses as well as pitching.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You look at these two lineups, both very talented, and their pitching staff's very talented, and this makes for a terrific series. Both of them are. I think that when you look at it, truthfully, these are the 4 best teams in baseball. You have the best combination of pitching and batting. You have to have both to win a World Series, and it's not many years you actually get the best teams, and I think this is definitely going to shape up to be a great both series to be great. I think you could see both series being classic 7-gamers.
Yeah, and just with that, Noah, who do you think will win this game tonight with the Red Sox and the Tigers?
Well, you look at it right Now, I'm not going to, because obviously, Blake, you're a big Red Sox fan. You don't want to know what's going on. But obviously, Scherzer's on the mound for the Tigers. A phenomenal pitcher. Definitely one of the front runners for the AL Cy Young versus Clay Buchholz. And I'm going to go with the Red Sox tonight. I think that Clay Buchholz is actually a better pitcher than Scherzer. Like you said, I believe it was last show. Unfortunately, he was just he wasn't able to win the Cy Young because he didn't have the minimum amount of starts, I believe it was. Was that the stat, Blake?
Yeah, and as well, he was very banged up and didn't play much of the second half of the season.
Yeah, but I'm going to say that the Red Sox are going to win this game. I think it's going to be another tight pitching matchup. I'm going to say 2-1 Red Sox. I think Buchholz has what it takes. Obviously, Scherzer, a phenomenal pitcher. And I think that he'll go almost clean slate, 1 earned run in 6 1/3. But I think that one of their relievers will give up a run. But the Red Sox tie it up 1-1 in a must-win game.
Yeah, have to agree with you there. I really think that Dustin Pedroia, Big Papi, David Ortiz, and other players like Mike Napoli will really come up in the clutch and get some good hits for the Red Sox against a great pitcher, Max Scherzer. But I really think that this is a must-win for this team. Behind the whole crowd at Fenway, I really do think this team can pull out the victory tonight in a must-win situation for sure. And with that, that is our postseason. Except, Noah, can you please give me your updated World Series picks? Mine are still very intact when I said the Red Sox and the Dodgers would be in the World Series.
Well, I do think that the Dodgers are the better team. The problem is, right now, how Yasiel Puig is playing, I really can't believe that they're going to win the series. I don't like to say that. I really like the Dodgers. I'm rooting for them 100%. But they're not playing at the level they have to play at. And without Puig playing well, I think he's really the spark of this team. So right now I'm going to have to say the Cardinals. And on the other side, the Red Sox have definitely been able to sway me more towards their side. I picked the Tigers originally. But I'm going to stay with my pick here. I'm going to go with the Tigers. I think that they have better batters. I think the Red Sox may have slightly better pitching. But I'm going to stick with the Tigers. I like Justin Verlander. I like all these pitchers. So, I'm going to go with the Tigers versus the Cardinals right now, which would be a rematch of the 2007 World Series, I believe it was. Or 2006. It's 2006. And in that one, I'm going to take the Tigers. I'm going to take the Tigers right now. If the Dodgers make it, I'll take the Dodgers. If the Red Sox make it, I take the Red Sox. But I think the Cardinals, out of all of these teams, are lowest on my list.
Yeah, good picks there. Don't totally agree with it, but I do have some favoritism toward my two favorite teams from the AL and NL respectively. So that is all for the postseason, and it's going to be sure to be some very exciting games, including tonight's game between the Tigers and the Red Sox. But everybody, stay tuned for the postseason. The excitement will continue, and the clutch hitting, clutch pitching, all that jazz will just continue to be on your TV on TBS and Fox. So stay tuned with that. And now we'll move on to the NFL, another very exciting Week 6 of NFL. A lot of big name teams up in action, and a lot of good players. And I don't know. I thought that this weekend had some very exciting matchups going on. Noah, got to introduce Jake Linker from another LA presence. Welcome him on the show. Jake, how you doing?
Oof, I'm doing good, especially since the Packers won today, so that always makes my day. And there's still more football to be had, so great day in sports. It's actually going to be a pretty great week in sports, to be honest, so I'm always happy.
Yeah, I've seen your Facebook page. It seems like you got to go to a Dodgers postseason game, and we're at the UCLA Bruins game last night in football.
And I'll be back at Dodger Stadium tomorrow and on Wednesday, if they make it that far, although not sure about that, the way their offense is playing.
Oh yeah, we'll hope for those Dodgers. So now I'm going to run down the scoreboard in the NFL really quickly. The Eagles defeated the Buccaneers 31-20 to improve to 3-3 on the year, while the Bucs fell to 0-5 overall and fell to 0-3 at home. And Nick Foles coming in behind Michael Vick, who was injured, threw a total of 3 touchdown passes and ran for another, so a total of 4 touchdowns to lead the Eagles to victory to even the record at 3-3. Another game going on was the Bengals and the Bills, and this was a very exciting game where the Bengals ended up pulling out the victory in overtime in Buffalo, 27-24, to improve to 4-2 on the year, while the Bills fell to 2-4. And the Bengals beat the Bills on Nugent's overtime field goal, so very exciting game. Another game, the Lions ended up pulling out the victory over the Browns in Cleveland, 31-17. While the Lions improved to 4-2 on the year, the Browns fell to 3-3, and it was their first loss sustained since trading Trent Richardson to the Colts. And Stafford and the Lions ended up rallying past the Browns in the second half for that one. Another game, the Raiders were defeated by the Chiefs, who improved to 6-0 on the season, 24-7. And this was in Kansas City. There was a full stadium at hand, and they were trying to beat that decibel meter or decibel sound mark that Seattle set versus San Francisco earlier this season. I'm not sure if they got that, but I know the crowd was very, very rowdy throughout, and the Chiefs kind of stemmed the Raiders on defense and both on offense to remain undefeated on the season. Another game, the Panthers defeated the Vikings 35-10 to blow out the Vikings at home at the Metrodome. Panthers improved to 2-3, while the Vikings fell to 1-4. The Vikings looked really, really awful, and the Panthers got their second victory, and this was against another terrible team. I remember they blew out the Giants 35-0, and then they blow out the Vikings to improve to 2-3. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Cam Newton will get those Carolina Panthers back on track. Steelers got their first victory of the season, 19-6 at the Meadowlands versus the Jets. Steelers improved to 1-4, get that eluded first victory, while the Jets fall to 3-3. Very disappointing for the Jets, considering they beat the Falcons on Monday Night Football, and they were looking like they were going to do a lot better than they did versus Steelers. And the Steelers kind of just throttled the Jets for their first win of the season. Another primetime game, Packers and Ravens, two top-notch teams, always in the playoffs consistently. Obviously, the Ravens, the Super Bowl champs from last year, and the Packers are very competitive. The Packers ended up getting the victory in Baltimore to improve to 3-2 on the year, while the Ravens fell to 3-3. 19-7 game, very interesting, kind of a defensive battle till the end in the fourth quarter. And Rodgers and Eddie Lacy helped the Packers hold off the Ravens in Baltimore. Another game, the St. Louis Rams defeated the Houston Texans 38-13. Just an absolute blowout. Totally disappointing for the Texans, who fall to 2-4, while the Rams improved to 3-3 on the year. Gary Kubiak is going to be on the hot seat after this one. Another game, the Denver Broncos improved to 6-0 on the year, while the Jacksonville Jaguars fell to 0-6 in a 35-19 game played in Denver. This was a game that made some news, being the highest kind of point spread ever played, or ever pre-game played, and it was 28 points, the point spread, and the Broncos did not reach that mark, surprisingly. Some people expected the Broncos to maybe put up 60, but only 35 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Noshawn Moreno ran for 3 touchdowns as the Broncos slipped past the Jags, and kind of a surprising effort for the Broncos, who expected to win by more. Seahawks defeated the Titans 20-13 to improve to 5-1 on the year, while the Titans fell to 3-3. And the Seahawks overcame some mistakes to top the Titans. Patriots defeated the Saints 30-27 in New England to improve to 5-1, while the Saints got their first loss of the year. And this was a very, very competitive game between two top-notch Super Bowl caliber teams, and Brady threw a late touchdown as the Patriots slowed the Saints. And then the 49ers, the latest game played to go final, defeated the Cardinals 32-20 to improve to 4-2 on the year. Got their victory at home, Candlestick Park, and the Cardinals fell to 3-3 on the year. And Davis's big play fueled the 49ers to their third straight victory. And then currently, we have our Sunday Night Football game going on between the Redskins and the Cowboys. Right now, this game is tied at 0-0, but we're only at the 12.5-minute mark in the first quarter, so nothing's really happened there. That'll be between the 2-3 Cowboys and the 1-3 Redskins. And then the Monday night game, I believe, where is that? I can't pull that up right now, but I believe it is going to be played between, Noah, help me out here.
It's the Colts Chargers.
Colts Chargers. Oh yeah, there we go. Got a lot of important fantasy players in that, including Phillip Rivers, and Danny Woodhead. And then I know Noah has, not Noah, other people have players like Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne. So that'll be a very good game. And then I forgot to mention the Bears defeated the Giants 27-21 on Thursday night to improve to 4-2 on the year, while the Giants fell to 0-6. And Eli Manning's Giants just don't look very good. Eli Manning threw 3 interceptions, and that sent the Giants to 0-6 on the season. So there is your scoreboard, everybody. Noah and Jake, what did you think about Week 6?
Well, I'm going to get it kicked off with the first matchup I want to talk about. And because we have Jake on here, we're going to talk about the Packers-Ravens first. We got to talk about it. And not because it was necessarily the most important or the best game of the week, but because, first of all, there were a couple of injuries, and second of all, it's between two teams that haven't really found their groove yet, trying to find their groove. And lately I found out that, from Jake, in fact, that Cobb and Jones' injury are not going to be as serious, but they both did go out of the game. Luckily, they're okay. And the Packers pulled out a very tight game, very defensive. I'm very impressed with the Packers' D so far against the run this year, limiting Ray Rice to 2.4 yards a carry, 34 yards total, 9 yards for Pierce. They only had 47 yards as a team on 22 carries. Very good defense from the Packers.
Yeah, it was interesting because in the first half, this was the first time I ever found myself watching a Packer game and thinking to myself, this is absolutely painful. There was more punting in the first half than there would be in a soccer game. Nobody could get anything done until late in the first half. We got the huge fumble recovery. Mason Crosby has really picked things up in the last 2 games. He's made 9 out of 10 field goal attempts. Crosby's picking things up, and also coming into the season, the Packers and myself were both very excited about, I believe, a 4th-round pick from Iowa, maybe 5th, Micah Hyde, a cornerback, and he definitely showed up today. Devon House and Micah Hyde were really made their presence felt today. This was a different Packers defense. We're seeing teams that used to be all offense really changing their mindset, like the Saints and the Packers and other teams, and even the Ravens. Not always the best defense, but here you see them holding the Packers just to 19 points. So very interesting to see this be a defensive battle. Not many saw this one coming, finishing like that. And about the Cobb and Jones thing, it's a good thing that they're going to be okay, because this could have been serious trouble. The Packers have a history of getting decimated by injuries. And the thing is, Green Bay is born with this pattern of getting back into their groove. Just like last year, they start 1-2, things aren't looking good, and then they win the second. They go to 2-2, and then they win a game against an AFC team and go to 3-2. So I saw this coming. I'm not surprised, and I'm happy with the way things are going. They just got to prepare for a trap game next week, if you ask me, at home against Cleveland. They cannot afford to overlook that one because that's a strong defense. But impressive showing overall.
Yeah, and it's like people who don't understand this and haven't watched the game, the Packers only had 2 wide receivers playing once Jones and Cobb went down, Nelson and Boykin. So they would need to go out, probably sign a free agent. It's just not good. It wouldn't have been good, and I'm glad they're going to be okay. Another guy who is very impressive, Eddie Lacy, has been phenomenal. A 230-pound, 5'11" running back. He played very well. He went for 120 yards on 23 carries. No touchdowns, but this is the second straight game. Oh, no, this is the only game he's rushed for 100 yards, but Detroit he ran for 99, so I'm going to give him that one. But he's definitely been really good, and I also was impressed by Lattimore. He was really good, surprisingly. I hadn't even heard of him before. Jamari Lattimore, I hadn't even heard of him before today, and he was very good as well. Obviously, Dayton Jones had that really big fumble recovery, as you said. It's a good win for the Packers.
Yeah, guys, gotta move on from the little Packer bias. But great analysis on your Packers, both of you guys. Let's talk about the Texans, 2-4, getting absolutely blown out at home versus the Rams, who are not an elite team to say the least. They're 2-4 on the year, and you look at their schedule right now, and they lost to the 49ers last week, and they got absolutely crushed, 34-3. They've lost 4 straight games after starting 2-0. But even when they were 2-0, they barely defeated the San Diego Chargers and barely defeated the Tennessee Titans. What's wrong with these Houston Texans, who were kind of preseason Super Bowl favorites?
I don't know what the problem is. They seem to have a lot of problems. First of all, I don't like their fan base anymore after booing a quarterback. I understand you don't like him. And of course, this is part of sports, but I find it disrespectful when you boo a quarterback or any player for getting injured, even if it's on the opposing team. He had a tough game, and then Yates came in. And then, of course, Yates throws 2 interceptions, and immediately they want Shaw back in the game. So how can you boo a guy and then want him back in immediately after? Arian Foster ran for 141 yards. You know it's not the running game that's the problem. Their defense was bad as well. Zach Stacy able to run for 80 yards. I just don't like what I'm seeing from the Texans. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think this is the Colts division. Texans got to fix something. They gotta turn it around fast. Otherwise, they could be looking at an abysmal season.
Yeah, Jake, next week they play at Kansas City. And just another notable stat, 4 straight games where they've thrown a pick 6. What do you think about this Texans team?
Well, they'll make it 5 next week. As somebody from Los Angeles, it really makes me angry that a pathetic fan base like Houston is getting a team, and not as in that they don't support their team, but because of the way they've acted. Matt Schaub is a good quarterback. He is in the top half of quarterbacks in the NFL. And then they're burning his jerseys. And I've made my opinion very clear about how stupid I think burning jerseys is. Burning clothing to prove a point makes absolutely no sense. But then the fact that they're booing, that their own quarterback gets injured, what's going to happen when he starts winning games? If I'm Schaub, I want out. It's not right to boo anybody when they get injured, especially if they're on your own team, and especially if they're the quarterback. In LA, if we had a team, would we be as dedicated? I can tell you that we wouldn't, because everybody has other stuff to do. But at least we would have a heart and not burn our own clothing. But the problem for Houston, I know, really, is their defense. I never dreamed in a million years that St. Louis would win this game, especially with the weak receiving core they have. And yet, guys that you've never really heard of, guys like Corey Harkey, are stepping up and making touchdown receptions. This Texans defense was supposed to be really strong, but their secondary has clearly gotten weaker, and it's showing a lot.
Yeah. So what's ridiculous to me is not so much that they're burning the players' jerseys and that's disrespectful to him, but they just wasted a good amount of money that they could have spent on a jersey that they didn't burn. Now look what they've done. They bought a jersey because they thought they supported him. Then they stopped supporting it and they wasted money. Should have bought an Andre Johnson jersey or an Arian Foster jersey. That would have been a better solution to the problem.
Yeah, let's burn my own clothing. That'll show him. I mean, come on, guys. Wake up. He's a millionaire because he's a quarterback in the NFL, and you're trying to burn your own clothing to prove a point. I'm sorry. There's better ways to do that and nicer ways to do it, unlike booing him when he gets injured. You know what? I just gotta feel bad for him. It's a good thing the trade deadline is coming up, because if I'm Schaub, I want out.
Yeah, Jake, what's your final assessment? Where do you think this Houston Texans team falls at the end of the season when it's all said and done?
I think that there is still too much talent offensively on this team. I'm definitely tempted to look at the schedule. Keep in mind there's a team that gets to play the Jaguars twice and the Titans twice, and that could be certainly trap games, and the Colts twice. So they are in a mediocre division. Sorry, I'm just pulling the schedule up because, it really does depend on who they play. But when you lose games that you're supposed to win, a home game against St. Louis, on the road against San Francisco, were they supposed to win that game? No, but they were absolutely crushed. You have to take advantage of opportunities, whether if it's you're playing a team or if it's in a game when you have good field position. In sports, it's about when you get an opportunity, can you capitalize off of it? And you look at me, again, in Kansas City, then Indianapolis, Arizona, Oakland, to Jacksonville, New England, Indy, Denver, Tennessee. They're lucky they still get to play. I mean, they get a cushy stretch after the bye. Colts, in Arizona, home against Oakland, home against Jacksonville. New England will be a loss, and then in Jacksonville. So I think they can still make it into the playoffs. They have to get things figured out in Houston, though, and I think that starts with the fans and not Matt Schaub.
Yeah, okay, well, good points about the Houston Texans. I personally hope that they can get it turned around, but lots of problems and lots of turmoil in Houston. But now let's talk about a very, very notable game, and that was the game played between the New England Patriots and the New Orleans Saints, and this was a game in which the Saints came in at 5-0. The Patriots were 4-1, but their loss had come the previous week versus the Bengals, who are a very good team. So both these teams are now 5-1. Patriots 3-0 at home, and this was a really, really good game throughout. And the Patriots just stunned the Saints on Tom Brady's touchdown pass with only 5 seconds left. Noah, what do you think about this Patriots team, and what do you think about this victory today versus New Orleans?
Well, first of all, a terrific game, and second of all, big confidence booster for the New England Patriots. They went in with a 17-7 lead into halftime, and then for most of the second half, they were outplayed. They went down 27-23, but with Tom Brady at quarterback, you have to learn that the game is never over. No matter how much he struggles, no matter how badly he played against Cincinnati, not able to throw a touchdown, it doesn't matter. It's still Tom Brady, and he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, so good at that 2-minute drill. And it wasn't even a 2-minute drill. It was like a 1 and 15-second drill, finding Kenbrell Tompkins, of course, for that 17-yard pass. And it was a great game. Drew Brees obviously not on the top of his game. Neither was Tom Brady. Nobody in this game really was amazing. Stephen Ridley, I think, was one of the best players with 96 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. But when it came down to it, Tom Brady got the ball last, and he was able to lead them to a victory. And of course, now the Saints are dropping to 5-1, and the Pats are going up to 5-1. So that's only 2 undefeated teams left, and of course that's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, from the same division, very notable. Jake, with this Patriots team, they're now 5-1. Rob Gronkowski still has not played a game. Their star tight end, Anthony Gonzalez, obviously had his big legal scandal this offseason. They have still pulled out a 5-1 record. They play at the Jets next week, who lost to the lowly Steelers today. What do you think of this Patriots team so far?
Well, and this is a match with Bill Belichick. Even if Aaron Hernandez is in jail and Gronkowski is injured, I gotta say that Kenbrell Tompkins has been... watching him, it's incredible to see him blossom into this great receiver under Tom Brady. I watched NFL Live after this game, and I was frustrated because I picked New Orleans. I'm rooting for New Orleans. I like them. They're a great story. It'd be a great comeback story, and great for the city of New Orleans if they won. And the Patriots ended up winning. I wasn't happy. Anyway, I believe it was Trent Dilfer who made a really good point here. He said, you cannot give Tom Brady the ball 3 different times in the final 3 minutes. The Patriots had the ball on 3 different possessions in the final 3 minutes in Foxborough in October. Home games coming off of a loss, and in October with Tom Brady, it's just everything seemed to align for him. And even when Edelman dropped those passes, they converted on that 4th and short. The look on Rob Ryan's face really said it all. This was supposed to be a big statement win for the Saints, and instead the Patriots came through. And why? It wasn't because the Saints defense wasn't able to hold them. It was that they gave the Patriots the ball 3 different times in the final 3 minutes. You can't expect to win if you're going to give Tom Brady the ball 3 times in the final 3 minutes. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and what do you think about this New England team, and what do you expect them to finish with record-wise? Sorry about that.
Well, no, Jake, you can go first.
All right, I will go first. The Patriots, I look at this team and see 12 wins. Again, I still see them winning the AFC by default because I don't like what Denver will be able to do. I gotta say, really their only competition could be, well, it turns out Cincinnati is definitely a viable competition. It'll be very interesting to see them face off against Miami in the coming weeks and Kansas City. So those are the 3 really big opponents, and I think that they should be able to handle all of them with ease. So this is probably a 12-13 win team. It's really a question of whether or not they're going to get a first-round bye. And the way the Texans have been playing and the way the NFC North is looking, I think that they will be in fine shape for a number 2 spot behind the Broncos. I mean, look, you get Jets, Dolphins, Steelers, then bye. Yeah, I'll give them 12-13 wins.
Yeah.
Noah, record?
I agree. I'm going to go more on the 13-14, though. I think that they are a phenomenal team. And sure, they have some tough games, possible trap games. I do think they're going to lose to Denver. But I think they'll have their shot in the playoffs. I think they're going to end up getting a matchup. I think that it'll just be terrific if they do, the Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. And it's definitely going to be interesting when they play. The Patriots, though, they do have their weaknesses, as we saw against Cincinnati. They are still the Patriots, and I think that they're gonna have a good year.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was our scoreboard, everybody. We're going to take a quick little commercial break, but we'll be right back talking about the standings, and then also we'll have a debate if the Chiefs are pretenders or if they're actual legit title contenders. So stick with us, everybody.
You're listening to the national sports station on Spreaker.com, the proud home of St. John Bosco football. Go Braves!
Hey, it's Noah Taborda. We're back. Quick commercial break, getting back right into that NFL action. And yeah, so here we go. Our first topic, as Blake said, it is the Chiefs contenders or pretenders debate. And before we get started, Jake, what's your opinion? Are they contenders or pretenders?
I have been riding the Chiefs bandwagon since training camp. Time and time again, I picked them to be the big team. Finally, they're breaking out for me. And I think they're most definitely contenders. I picked them to make it to the AFC Championship game at the beginning of the season. That's working out well so far.
Okay, Blake.
Here's the big thing for them, though, is that they're a team with something to prove. Alex Smith's trying to prove that he was the guy he was in San Francisco. Now, he never should have left that team. Charles trying to prove that he's the same guy he was before the ACL injury. And Andy Reid's proving that he still has the magic coaching touch. Everybody in Kansas City wants it. Even the fans. I mean, and by the way, they did end up breaking that decibel record with 137.5 decibels. When you have a team with something to prove and a team that's next to impossible to beat at home, and the way their defense is playing, Kansas City is without a doubt a contender. And they have definitely earned our respect at this point.
Okay, and Blake, what's your opinion?
Yeah, definitely a title contender as well. I've looked at this team. They came in at 2-0 and played in Philadelphia. I was watching that game versus my Eagles, and I really did expect them to lose, considering the heckling that those Philadelphia fans will be giving Andy Reid, and they came out with a very impressive victory to go to 3-0. And ever since then, this team has looked like one of the top teams in the league, only the second other undefeated, along with the Denver Broncos, who are in their division, ironically. But you look at them, they beat the New York Giants 31-7 the next week at Tennessee, who's been kind of a trappy, kind of a team that's beaten a lot of teams in Tennessee. They pulled out the victory there, and then they looked very good versus Oakland today, who's also kind of a divisional foe. Next week, they get to play at home versus Houston, who is just reeling right now. I really do think this team could definitely win the title if possible. And you look at their schedule and they don't play the Broncos. They will play the Broncos in week 11, so they'll have a bye week as well to prepare for them. That could be quite the game at Broncos Sunday, November 17th. So remember that date, everybody. You could have two undefeated teams from the same division that weekend, and that would be quite exciting, but very legit title contender, this Kansas City Chiefs football team.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree here. I'm going to go with pretender. Here's the thing that I don't know about them. So they've played Jacksonville. They've played Dallas. They've played Philadelphia. They've played New York. They've played Tennessee, and they've played Oakland. Now, please, tell me which team is actually a elite team. What team out of those teams is a team that actually is going to contend for a Super Bowl? Is it Jacksonville? I don't think so. Dallas, I kind of like them, but they're not really an elite team yet. Philadelphia, obviously not an elite team. New York, terrible. Tennessee, I mean, they're a sneaky team, but no, they're not an elite team. Oakland, I don't call Terrell Pryor an elite quarterback. I don't think Kansas City has proven it yet. I don't think they'll be able to prove it against Houston. I don't think they'll be able to prove it against Cleveland. The only time they'll be able to prove it to me is at Denver. And if they get blown out, then I'll be right. They're not. They're pretenders. You know, they have Indianapolis maybe to prove it, but to me they're not contenders yet. They have a good defense. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you don't hold people to below 200 opponent passing yards, but their offense, you know, they're 20th in passing yards, 12th in rushing yards. I just don't see them as an elite team yet. They're not very good against the run. They're 21st in the league against runs. I don't see them as a elite team or a contender yet.
Really? This is despite going 6-0 and being only the second undefeated team throughout Week 6.
Yeah.
You really think they're elite?
Yeah, I mean, you look at... I'm going to use the Bears last year. The Bears were terrific to start the year. And I'm a Packers fan, obviously, and this is like 100% unbiased. They were good to start the year, and all the fans talking about how, oh, we're so good. Our record is so good, we're not going to be able to get beaten. Let me pull this record up for you guys really quickly so I can use it as a reference here. 2012, they start off in Week 9. They've had one bye, so they're 7-1. But the teams they played St. Louis, they played Dallas, they played Jacksonville, they played Carolina, they played Tennessee. Detroit was having a bad year. Their only team that played was good was Indianapolis, and that was Andrew Luck's first game. And their only loss came against the Packers. And I remember telling everybody, the Bears are going to drop off because you looked at their schedule. They had Houston, they had San Francisco, they had Seattle, they had Minnesota, they had Green Bay, and they did drop off. And I see that. I see the Bears, the 2012 Bears in the Chiefs. I see a team that hasn't gotten the challenge yet, and I think they're still going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're a title contender just yet.
Don't you dare compare Jay Cutler to Alex Smith. I mean, first of all, forget about all this elite mention. You're starting to sound like Joe Flacco's agent. Listen, the Duke of the Chiefs is this. They are undefeated. The Bears team you talked about, they lost. They had already lost a game at this point. The Chiefs have not lost yet. They have given us absolutely no reason for us to think that they're pretenders. Have they not played the strongest teams? Fine. But there have been weak teams that have upset big opponents. And the fact that the Chiefs have not lost yet, the fact that Alex Smith is doing what he needs to do, Charles is doing what he needs to do, and guys like Dexter McCluster are stepping up, and Donnie Avery, and this defense is incredible. You can't compare them to the Chicago Bears, because the Bears were stuck with Jay Cutler. And, you know, every time he hurt his pinky, he'd have to leave for a month. So, Kansas City is not Chicago by any means, and we will see that in January when Kansas City is deep in the playoffs.
Well, then can I compare them to the Houston Texans, who continuously have great regular season records, like last year where they only lost 4 games, and then get into the playoffs and struggle? I think that Houston, you know, they didn't really play against the greatest teams last year. Their schedule wasn't the best. Their division was a lot weaker than it is this year. Obviously, the Texans struggling this year. But I just look at the AFC, excuse me, and I just don't see them being a team that can make it to the Super Bowl. I think New England is better. I think Cincinnati is better. I think Indianapolis is better, and I think Denver is better. I'm sorry. I just think that Indianapolis is a really good team. I think they're really underrated. New England, I think Tom Brady always puts you above the team, makes you the favorite. And Cincinnati, I guess you could say I would be willing to switch over and say Kansas City. But I like Cincy. I like AJ Green. I like the tandem of Gio Bernard and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. I just don't think that Kansas City is ready yet.
They
Okay.
lost.
Yeah. Oh, wait. One more point by Jake, and then we got to move on for time constraints.
Cincinnati lost to Cleveland and Brian Hoyer. Kansas City hasn't lost a game. It's very simple. There's no other argument to it. They are one of 2 teams left in the NFL that have a 0 in the loss column.
Okay, well, really quickly, Blake, and then I'll be done. We will see when they play Cleveland. When they play Cleveland, how they do. If they struggle, I will call you, and I will say, haha, they're not as good as you think.
It doesn't matter. If they win, forget if they struggle. If they don't lose, they're still undefeated. Not even the Packers can say that.
But it's worse to struggle against Brandon Weeden than it is to lose against Brian Hoyer.
I think you're wrong. A win's a win, and as Packer fans, we should know that after what we experienced last year against Seattle.
That is true.
Good points there, everybody. A very heated debate, but very interesting to listen to. Now we're going to move on to our standings, and we'll start with the NFC. The NFC East. The Eagles lead the division. My Philadelphia Eagles at 3-3 with their victory over Tampa Bay. Right now, Dallas and Washington are playing. If Dallas beats the Cowboys, then the Eagles will have the lone spot for the lead. But if Dallas wins, they'll be tied with the Eagles at 3-3. This looks like a very weak division. Giants 0-6, Washington 1-3, but we'll have to see with the game tonight. NFC North, Detroit leads at 4-2. Chicago's right behind them. They're 4-2 as well. And Green Bay 3-2. And then Minnesota looks absolutely atrocious. 1-4. Their only victory against the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers in London. This division looks very good top to bottom, other than those Vikings. What are you guys' takes on this division? Because I know you guys are huge Packers fans.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Let me write off Minnesota completely. Minnesota is terrible. I think they're a bad team, and I feel bad for Adrian Peterson. And there are so many memes about how Adrian Peterson will never have a good quarterback in his life, but that's kind of a lie. Brett Favre was his quarterback for that year they went to the NFC Championship. But Green Bay should win this division. They're better than Detroit. They're better than Chicago. You know, their record may not indicate it. They may have played one less game, but Green Bay is the better team. And sure, they've had their ups and downs, but they're a much improved defensive team. And if they can just get their defense and their offense to click at the same time, they are a very, very dangerous team.
Yeah, and with that note about Adrian Peterson, got to shout out and send our wishes and prayers and high hopes. His 2-year-old son was murdered at the hands of, I believe it was his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend. And this was just a very, very tragic event. And all of our prayers will go out to Adrian Peterson and his son, and just the rest of the family and the whole Vikings organization. So a tragedy to say the least. But we'll move on to our next topic, which is the NFC South. New Orleans leads with a 5-1 record, look very good. Carolina at 2-3, Atlanta at 1-4, and Tampa Bay at 0-5. So a very disappointed Atlanta Falcons team. Carolina looked very good, but that was against the Vikings, and New Orleans definitely looks like a Super Bowl caliber team. Guys, what do you think about this NFC South?
Well, first, if I have time, I'll just squeeze in a quick 5-second remark about the NFC North. I think the Packers should win this division, but the Chicago Bears do scare me. Not because of Jay Cutler, but because they are one of the best teams at forcing turnovers in the NFL and creating opportunities. Now, on that note, in the NFC South, this is not what I expected. I expected the Saints to win this division. I expected New Orleans to be all over it. I did not expect the Saints to turn into a defensive powerhouse led by crazy blitz packages for Rob Ryan. But it's working. The Buccaneers need Jesus. I mean, Tampa Bay is in deep doo-doo. I mean, even the staph infections got them again. It's a very, very sad situation. My brother's a Buccaneer fan. And you know what? A lot of people don't believe me when I say that Schiano is sabotaging this organization. Just yesterday, it came out that Schiano was the one who leaked to the NFLPA that Freeman was involved with drugs, when in fact it was just Adderall, which he had been prescribed to by a doctor because he does have ADD. So again, Shiano driving that franchise into the ground. Carolina, you know what? Newton is getting better. I think they have to stick with Newton. Slowly but surely, they'll get to where they need to be. Atlanta, I don't understand this. I knew their defense was hurt when they lost John Abraham, and now their former defensive captain Sean Weatherspoon's on the IR. I didn't think they'd get hit this hard. I did not think they would lose at home against the Patriots. I certainly did not think that they would lose at home on Monday night to the Jets. This is... I feel so bad for the entire state of Georgia. They've had a pretty bad sports week. I'm just shocked with what I'm seeing in Atlanta. Biggest surprise this year, good or bad. And then there's the Saints. Again, defense is ruling in the French Quarter, and I never would have seen this coming. This is a different division. This is the Saints division. Look out for New Orleans.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go. Obviously, I'm gonna go with the Saints here. The Falcons, and I think it's fair to say this, are the most underperforming team in the NFL. I don't think the Texans are. I don't think anybody else is. I think the Texans are just struggling. But Atlanta is underperforming. They look like the Detroit Lions of last year. Always in a close game and just can never win. See, all of their losses, 6 points to New Orleans, 4 points to Miami, 7 points to New England, 2 to New York. And the same thing happened with Detroit last year. Detroit, and I'm not saying they're by any means that Detroit and them are equal teams, but Detroit last year was a good team. And people think that they were bad, but they weren't. They just weren't able to win close games. Let me pull up the schedule really quick here. You know, they lost by 8 to San Francisco. They lost in overtime to Tennessee, by a touchdown to Minnesota, by 6 to Chicago, 4 to Green Bay, 3 to Houston, 2 to Indianapolis, a touchdown to Green Bay again, and then near to the end of the season, 2 tough losses against Arizona and Atlanta, and then by 2 to Chicago. So they were close to winning every game, and that's what Atlanta's doing right now. They just can't finish games.
Yeah, I mean, very, very disappointing. Heart goes out to the whole state of Georgia, as Jake mentioned, with Atlanta. But I really do think that New Orleans will win this division, and easily. Also, got to move on to the NFC South now. This is arguably the best division in football, other than maybe the AFC West. You have Seattle at 5-1, definitely a Super Bowl caliber team. San Francisco at 4-2 had a very tough start to the regular season, but had a very tough schedule as well. They're 4-2, and you look at their next few games, they could definitely go on a hot winning streak. St. Louis, very surprising. They're 3-3 on the year, very competitive, and Arizona as well, 3-3. So every team in this division is at least 500 or better. Jake, what is your opinion on the NFC West? And what do you think about all these very competitive teams? Jake?
Seattle is still my Super Bowl pick. I am not changing that. Not surprised with what I've seen from Seattle and San Francisco. I want to talk about, and it's a sentence you didn't really think you'd hear about the NFC West this season. I want to talk about St. Louis and Arizona. How on earth are these teams 3-3? Arizona was supposed to get clowny, in my opinion. But Palmer's proving that he's somewhat decent. Larry Fitzgerald can still play. And then there's St. Louis. I just don't understand what's happening in St. Louis. They're really an anti-Atlanta. Absolutely horrible receiving core. And yet their defense is pulling through for them. You know, Sam Bradford earned my respect today in Houston. I'm beside myself that St. Louis and Arizona are competing, but this is still Seattle's Super Bowl to lose, if you ask me. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Seahawks. It's tough to win in Indy. I've completely forgiven for losing that one. A little closer than I would have liked against Tennessee, but I think that's just a testament to how strong the Titans are this year. And the Niners, again, Kaepernick's magic is sort of wearing off because people are expecting the read option now. The read option is the new wildcat in the NFL. It's the next fad, and I don't know how long it's going to last. But, yeah. So there you go. Seattle's division and league really to lose. St. Louis and Arizona don't know how they're doing it, but they're 500.
Yeah.
Opinions on the NFC West. Obviously, preseason, San Francisco and Seattle were all we were hearing about, but now St. Louis and Arizona both at 3-3 to start the year.
You hear that noise? That's a mixture of clapping and booing. Why? Because they're a mixture of good and bad in those results. Why? Because that represents the St. Louis and Cardinals. The booing, not to say that I don't like them, but the booing to say that they're not necessarily a great team either. I think the St. Louis Rams, in my opinion, are a terrible team. And Jake, I remember a couple of weeks ago you thought they were the worst team in football. I don't think they're the worst team in football anymore, but they're not a great team in my opinion. I just think that they've been able to get some of the wins, but besides this one against Houston, Arizona and Jacksonville, you don't call those wins big wins. Their record is a misinterpretation of how good they are, because they're really at heart a 3-win team, maybe a 4-win team at best is St. Louis, and a 5 or 6-win team is Arizona. I just don't see either team as good. I don't see them as a team that their record is just a misinterpretation, and they really shouldn't be worried about as contenders in this division.
Yeah, okay, well, got to move on to the AFC, but great analysis, you guys, on the NFC. AFC will start with the East, in which New England leads with their 5-1 record. Miami, who's been very, very surprising, at 3-2, and then the Jets, up and down throughout, have looked great versus, obviously, Atlanta, and then today, losing 19-6 at home versus Pittsburgh. And then there's Buffalo at 2-4, who looks their usual lowly selves. Guys, what is your opinion on the AFC East? Looking a little weaker as it usually is.
Well, the AFC East. Wait, Jake, are you okay? Never mind. That was a moment of confusion. Sorry, guys.
Right.
New England's division to win. I don't think there's a question about that. Just short and simple.
Jake, what do you think?
I gotta give some credit to the Jets. I think that this was supposed to be a disaster, train wreck, Kardashian-esque level of dysfunctionality with this team, and yet, you know what? The Jets have proved that they can win football games. I was very disappointed to see what they did against Pittsburgh today, but yeah, shout out to the Jets. But this is still Brady Belichick magic in the AFC.
But what about Jets losing today to Pittsburgh, Jake? What do you think about that?
What?
Jake?
Surprised, but I think that it was very easy to overlook the fact that Pittsburgh was coming off of a bye, hadn't won yet this year. Surprised, not shocked, a forgivable loss by all means.
Yeah, okay, so got to move on to the AFC North now. Cincinnati 4-2, looking very competitive, as many expected. Baltimore 3-3, very up and down, but a lot of uncertainty coming into the season, despite being the Super Bowl champs. Cleveland 3-3, very surprising. They got their first loss since trading Trent Richardson, but have looked very competitive in what many thought was going to be a tank year after they traded him. And then there's Pittsburgh at 1-4, who looks really, really bad, other than their victory today versus the Jets, who are kind of a not competitive team, to say the least. So, guys, opinions on the AFC North?
The AFC North is Cincinnati's. I just for my cousins, a lot of my cousins like the Ravens, and recently one of them said, "Oh, it's okay that we lost because our division sucks." Well, you're wrong. Cincinnati is a good team, and the Ravens will not win this division. Cincinnati is by far the better team. They lost to Cleveland, but I still think that they are a quality team. I still think that they are a contender, but the Ravens, I don't see them as really being able to play. I don't think Whedon can lead them to a title, and Pittsburgh, despite winning this game, they're still far off of the pace to win.
Yeah. Jake, what do you think about that AFC North division?
I think that this entire division of pretenders, including Cincinnati, I liked Cincinnati coming into the preseason, but what I have seen from them has been really disappointing and alarming. If you look at the past 4 games, they played Green Bay, they played Cleveland, they played New England, and they played Buffalo. They beat Rodgers at home. Then they lost to Hoyer on the road. They beat Brady at home, and it takes overtime to play against Thad Lewis on the road. I think this is a team that's going to be in serious trouble when they play on the road when the playoffs come around. They're going to be in the playoffs, but as soon as they are on the road, they're going to get crushed. If it takes overtime to defeat Ted Lewis, if they can't even beat Brandon Whedon because they're on the road, this team is not ready yet. And it's a shame because I like this team. I like the players they have on this team. They've turned this organization around, but they have to learn how to play on the road or they will get crushed in the playoffs.
Yeah, okay. Well, got to move on now to the AFC South. Indianapolis looks very good, 4-1. Tennessee has been very surprising, 3-3. Houston, 2-4, and then Jacksonville, 0-6. So kind of the Colts division to win for sure, but also Tennessee looks slightly competitive. Jake, what do you think about this AFC South?
Do not count out the Tennessee Titans. Never count out the Titans. Even though Jeff Fisher is gone, when Locker gets back, Fitzpatrick is somehow holding up the fort. They only lost by 7 to Seattle. In Seattle, I'm shocked with what Tennessee's doing, but you know what? They're contenders. They could make some noise in the playoffs if they make it that far. I'm not giving up on Houston yet. I think they can really turn things around, especially when they start playing Jacksonville. I'm actually still going to say that the Texans are going to win this division. I don't know how ready Luck and company are. If Reggie Wayne and T.Y. Hilton just have one bad day on the same day, it's trouble for them. So you know what? I'm still going to pick Houston in this division. I'm interested to see a battle with who will finish with the better record, Tennessee or Indy. But keep an eye on the Titans because they could surprise you.
Do not disrespect the Indianapolis Colts. Please. They're going to win this division. They have the magic that I know you did not believe they have, and I feel like you still don't believe they have. I think they're the best team in this division. I think they're going to win against San Diego, and I think they're going to possibly even defeat Denver. I think it'll be a close game. I think they're going to push Denver to the edge. I think Indianapolis is a team that people are undervaluing. I think they're a top 5, maybe even top 4 in the NFL, and I think they're going to win this division. Though I do agree with you with Tennessee that I do think that they are a very sneaky team. And, if they can start to get things to go right and they continue to play this way, they could possibly vie for a playoff spot.
Can I just have one quick remark about the Colts?
Yeah, sure.
All right. They're going to beat Denver next week. I have faith in that. But once they start winning all these games, I'm afraid of them getting overconfident. And I think the hubris is going to eat at this team, and we might see them crash and burn because of just instability on this team. I don't see the consistency with the Colts is my problem. And I think that they're going to have trouble on the road. And I think that the loss against Miami at home said everything that I need to know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was our AFC South. Very interesting division, to say the least. Now we're going to move on to the AFC West, which is have the 2 top teams in football, both Denver and Kansas City, combined 12-0, both 6-0 respectively. And then you have San Diego and Oakland, who are not elite teams, at 2-3 and 2-4 respectively. Denver and Kansas City, that's going to be the race throughout, and it's going to be very interesting throughout the season to see who will finish on top. Noah and Jake, who do you think will finish on top and why?
Well, in this division, I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think the Broncos are the better team. I think Peyton Manning in the regular season is the best quarterback ever. I think that he is a terrible playoff quarterback, as Jake knows, as most people who have seen his statistics in the playoffs, his record in the playoff, know. But I think that the Chiefs are not a team that's going to win. That can win this division. I don't think they've faced the matchups that are going to give them the issues yet. But yeah, I'm taking the Broncos in this one.
I really echo.
That was good. That was good, guys. Way to communicate there.
Jake, why don't you go?
Yeah, clearly I'm very excited to talk about this. Sorry about that. But yeah, I completely echo what Noah says on this one. The Broncos are... I mean, Peyton Manning's one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time, if not the best regular season quarterback of all time. But also, Peyton Manning is not a good playoff quarterback. Denver's going to win this division. They're going to win this conference in the regular season. But when they play Kansas City in the playoffs, trouble ahead. Kansas City is going to make it further in the playoffs than Denver will, and that's what matters the most.
Okay, well, Jake, I disagree with you from our debate earlier on. Thank you for being on. It's been a pleasure. We went a little longer than we thought we would on this section, but that's what happens when you have heated debates and good conversations. Thanks for being on to the show.
Thank you guys. Sorry I ran a little long, so I'll just make it quick. Super pumped that UCLA is in the top 10. And check out my show, Rookies Roundup. We weren't able to do an episode last night because I was at the Bruin game, but we will be back on tonight. Like our Facebook page because that like total is depressingly low, like the Jaguars offense. So, yeah. Thank you guys for having me on. Come on my show anytime. Thank you, and go Pack.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake.
He always has the best metaphors. Have you ever realized that? Our likes are depressingly low, like the Jaguars' win total. That's just terrific. I love his metaphors.
Yeah, always able to shape the NFL in real life, and a very funny guy to say the least. So now we're going to take our second commercial break, but everybody stay tuned. Coming up next, NBA. The season is almost about to take off, so stick with us, everybody, and we're going to talk some NBA coming up next.
Your presentation of national sports is brought to you by Spreaker.com. Broadcast and listen to news, radio, and music with one low monthly rate. Your show will be right back after this word from your local stations.
Ooh, I got a body full of liquor with a comb kicker, and I'm feeling like a perfect guitar. So lay down.
What's up? It's Noah Taborda, back on with Blake Devine. Great segment with Jake Liker. It's always phenomenal when he's on the show, but the NFL section has come and gone. If you're just tuning in and you missed it, wait till after. You can listen to it again. So our numbers and stuff, 224-563-8444 is the number to call. Again, that's 224-563-8444. Like us at Facebook at Blake and Noah LA to Chicago. That's the name of the page. Or on Twitter at Blake_and_Noah. That's at capital BLAKE _and_ capital NOAH. So yeah, let's get straight into the NBA. And what do you have for us, Blake, to start it off?
Yeah, recently reported, Derrick Rose is getting sat precautionary by the Chicago Bulls. Recently, they did not play him in the preseason game against the Washington Wizards because of soreness in his surgically repaired left knee. Rose developed the soreness during Friday's practice, and the Bulls said that the decision was to hold him out of the game, which was played in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And it was just a precautionary decision. And in the words of Tom Thibodeau, he said, "We wanted to see where he was today, but he wasn't as well as we would have liked. He still had some soreness, so we anticipate giving him some time off. We view our training camp as an entire month, so if he needs a day or a couple days, we'll do that." So Noah, I know you're a huge Derrick Rose fan and a huge Chicago Bulls fan. What were your opinions on this recently released statement by Tom Thibodeau about sitting Derrick Rose in the preseason?
Well, immediately when I heard it, I was holding my breath, and I'm thinking, Derrick Rose is injured. Derrick Rose is injured. What's going to happen? And, after it was reported that it was only a little bit of soreness, I still feel confident that he's obviously going to play this year. And it's normal to have a little bit of a soreness on a knee that, despite training, you haven't had the same rigorous activity as a NBA game. I think he'll be fine, but it's always nerve-wracking when you hear that your star player, who hasn't played in 2 years. I feel 2 years or 18 months. Excuse me. When he gets injured.
Yeah. So with Derrick Rose and all that, do you think that he's still going to be an MVP caliber player this upcoming season?
Oh yeah, definitely. I did this on my inaugural episode of Full Court Press last Monday. I did my predictions, and I had the Bulls going to the conference finals. I think Derrick Rose is still an MVP caliber player, and I still think he can still lead them to the conference finals. Yeah.
Okay. Well, another big name point guard, Deron Williams, has been reported by Coach Jason Kidd. He could miss the start of the season, and Brooklyn Nets head coach Jason Kidd left the open possibility that point guard Deron Williams could miss the start of the regular season due to an ailing right ankle. So another big name point guard from the Eastern Conference, definitely the star of this Nets team, who has a lot of big name players that they signed over the offseason, but he's kind of the foundation for that team, and he's their star player. He could miss the start of the season for this team. So, Noah, what were your opinions on this recently stated report?
Yeah, before I do this, did it feel weird saying Coach Jason Kidd?
Yes, I almost thought I was reading something wrong and incorrect, but then I realized Jason Kidd is the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, even though he talks on his cell phone during the Summer League games.
Yeah, the big story on this is not that Deron Williams is injured. It's that they actually called him Coach Jason Kidd. No, but seriously, sure, he'll miss the start of the regular season, but that's better than him missing the whole season. You know, like Kidd said, sit him out for a while, let him recuperate because you want him healthy for the rest of the year. You don't want him to play early on in the year and then get injured on a long-term injury. I think he'll be fine, just like I think Derrick Rose will be fine. Nothing really to worry about.
Yeah, okay. So, in the words of Noah Taborda, he says not to worry about those two star point guards from the East. And our next part is going to be our predictions of the playoffs for both leagues and who we think will get to the conference finals and who will win the conference finals to go to the NBA finals. So, Noah, let's start with you. Eastern Conference, who wins this? Who wins this conference and why?
Well, I already ruined for you guys who I'm going to say are the two teams, Chicago and Miami. I already told you guys when we were talking about Derrick Rose. Sorry for ruining it in case you wanted a surprise. But, yeah, Chicago and Miami are going to be the two teams. And, actually, if you look at the top of the table right now in the preseason, they're both the only 3-0 teams right now. So, maybe mimicking what it'll be like later on. But, or not mimicking, miming. Or mirroring. Yeah. There we go. Not mimicking. It's not making fun of it. There we go. Yeah, okay. So, but on who's going to win, I like Chicago, and it's so hard for me to say. And I said it on Full Court Press, but yeah, Miami is the best team in the NBA right now. And I'm going to have to take them over Chicago. I'm going to say in 6 games, a little bit better than the last time these two teams played. I think that LeBron James will just perform outstanding. It'll be a showdown between Derrick Rose and LeBron James, but the problem is Miami has too many weapons, and Chicago, I don't know if they have what it takes to stop those weapons. So yeah, I'm taking Miami in 6 games in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, what about those Western standings, and who do you think will be in the conference finals for that, and who wins?
Well, my first team is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Too good not to put them in. And, you know, they lost Russell Westbrook, but I think they would have made it before. And my second team is the drum roll. It is the Clippers. I think that Doc Rivers will coach his team to the victory. I don't think they're necessarily, personnel-wise, the second best team in the Western Conference yet, but I think they're going to make it to the conference finals. But between these two teams, I'm going to have to go with the Thunder. I like them too much. I think they're too good of a team. And I think we're going to see a Thunder-Heat rematch in the NBA Finals.
Ooh, not again.
I'm sorry.
Like happened too often. It was just last year, I believe. Yeah, that I don't know. I wouldn't be excited about seeing that one again. You never want to see rematches. You always want to see new players, new matchups, but
Yep.
Maybe that could happen. We'll see. So with me, my Eastern Conference predictions, yes, I got to go with the Miami Heat again, making it to the conference finals for the 4th straight year, and also trying to make it to the finals for the 4th straight year. And then I'm going to have them going against the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, a little surprising there, but I really think...
Boo.
Yeah, I think they'll finish 4th in the Eastern Conference, but I think that they'll be able to win their first matchup against the New York Knicks. That'll be a very interesting first-round series. I think they'll be able to win that one. And then, oh wait, that would not be possible, actually. Okay, I'm going to have them at 3, because then they'd have to play Miami in the quarterfinals. I will have them finishing at 3rd, defeating the Chicago Bulls, your team, in the quarterfinals, and then reaching the finals versus the Miami Heat. And with that, I think that Miami will come out on top 6 games, starting with home court in Miami. But this is going to be a very good team in the Brooklyn Nets, led by Coach Jason Kidd. Top to bottom, one of the most stacked rosters in the league. And I really do think that the owner has made some great moves in the offseason, which would transfer to a very competitive title contender kind of a team. And then with my Western predictions, let me get over there right now. I'm going to have to put the Thunder as well, another very good team who did not have Russell Westbrook last year in the postseason, or they did at the beginning, but then he was injured versus the Houston Rockets. I really do think that this team is legit and they're for real, and they're going to come out and have a great year this year. And I do see them in those Western Conference Finals again, like they usually are. And then for my other team to put in, I was really going back and forth. I'm not going to put the Spurs, even though they're always dangerous. I was going back and forth between the Houston Rockets and the LA Clippers. And when it all came down to it, I had to go with the LA Clippers because of experience. Doc Rivers has been in the postseason so many years. Houston will have Dwight Howard, big name player, great player. But they just are kind of not going to – they're going to lack the chemistry that the Clippers will have. And kind of similar to the Miami team, the first year the Big Three were all assembled. I think that the Houston Rockets will have some struggles, and they will be ousted by the Clippers in the quarterfinals.
Blake, we have a caller really quickly.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, Robert Dieters is on the line. Robert, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Noah?
I'm doing pretty good. So,
I've been hearing the Western Conference, and, you guys are doing predictions right now. I have to agree with Blake. I don't want to count out the Rockets, but you also don't want to count out the Spurs in this situation. The Rockets got Dwight Howard. That makes a huge difference. You have James Harden, who is beast. Now you got 2 legit players on that team that can really help out the Rockets, and you also have Omar Sheik. So this team is stacked on the bench. But you guys, okay, I know why you guys don't pick the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors are going to make it to that finals because they don't have the bench, and the bench has not really proved themselves during this preseason. But when you guys talk about Western Conference, I love OKC. Without Russell Westbrook, I think OKC could have probably made it all the way again. But without Russell Westbrook, it kind of was a hard decision for the Thunder. They kind of put him back in, but I think this year they have a good shot of into that Western Conference Finals. And by the way, kind of glad you admitted that Miami Heat are better than the Bulls. I know that took a lot of pride.
Yeah, it did. And I did it on my show earlier in the week. But it's true. LeBron James is too good. And I like what you said about the Warriors, the lack of bench. And obviously losing Jarrett Jack to the Cavaliers is a tough one. So it's really hard to see that happen for the Warriors. And I like the Warriors as a team. But like you said, you need a bench to be able to compete in the NBA, and I don't think that they're ready for that yet. And I agree with you on the Spurs. I had them in my show ranked I had them as the 2nd seed because I have learned not to count them out. I continuously do it, and they continuously perform really well. But I don't think that they're going to make it to the finals this year. But once again, don't count them out.
And I want to say one more thing. Noah, when you said on fantasy football, we're talking about fantasy football here, you said some of the Niners players were not going to perform the way they could. And Vernon Davis gets 30 points today. Frank Gore has a beast game. Anquan Bowen probably not the best game. And, in our fantasy football, you have Colin Kaepernick, so you get the worst of everything. I hope you know that. I remember in the beginning of the year, everyone gave me crap. Blake Devine was one of the only guys that told me, oh, well, I think this team's actually really good. Look where me and Blake are. We're pretty much tied right now for number one in our division. So, I gotta hear your response to that.
Okay, well, first of all, me and Blake right now are going head-to-head. I'm losing. It's tough for me to say it.
I win this matchup for sure. I'm looking at the scoreboard.
You're not going to win it for sure. You're not going to win it for sure. That's not true. The difference right now is what? I'm losing by 14. I still have DeMarco Murray right now. You have Jason Witten, who is so inconsistent. Danny Woodhead, in my opinion, will have a bad week. I don't think Phillip Rivers will have a good week. But talking about that, yes, I have to say it now, and, I have to eat my words and say that your team has performed pretty well. You had that good pickup of Joique Bell, which was a phenomenal decision, to say the least. By the way, also, what will you do to trade me either Cam Newton or Matthew Stafford? I need one of them. But,
I need one of them. I'm probably not going to give you either, because they're pretty stacked right now, and I switch them out pretty much every week, because you never know how Stafford's going to do, and I made a bad mistake this week. I could have probably put in Newton, who got 30 points this week, but I'm still beating Elliott by 95 to 44, but he hasn't put in everybody yet. He still has Luck, Wayne, and his kicker as well to play. But I'm pretty much done for this week. I got 95 points, and I'm 3-2 right now. So, I'm feeling pretty damn good about myself, especially, I know I screwed Blake Devine on a trade. And Blake, how did Bradshaw do? I know he got hurt.
Yeah, I dropped him. You got Torrey Smith from me, but I have a very good wide receiver core, including Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Smith, and Wes Welker. So I'm pretty satisfied with my team, and we're playing very well right now. But you did rip me off in that trade.
Yeah.
You did, and I was very happy about that. And I'll trade you Jay. I'll trade you Jay Cutler, because it's not like I need him anymore. Because when both Matthew Stafford and Newton are in, they both perform really well. Jay Cutler's not bad. He got 20 points, but he went against the Giants. I thought he would do a little bit better than that. But if you want Jay Cutler, let me know. You're not getting Newton though. I love my team right now. My team is beast. Fortunately, Bradshaw for me is out for the year, so I picked up Brandon Jacobs. And I hope Jacobs does well. He has 22 points. Even though the Giants are 0-6, he still did really well.
Okay, yeah, thanks for being on. Great points, Robert. It's always great to have you on. Call in anytime.
All right, thanks, man. You guys have a good show.
Yeah, so that's our mini fantasy football section, guys. Thanks for tuning into our fantasy football section. Great fantasy football. Blake, it's not over, okay? DeMarco Murray will have a phenomenal second half, and I hate Jason Witten. That's why I traded him to you.
Okay, well, got to get back on track here with the NBA. We got a little off topic, but always interesting talking about our fantasy football league, which we hold at National Sports between some of the guys, and it gets pretty competitive. And you could tell from the way Robert and Noah and me were all talking. We care a lot about our teams and our players. But got to get back on track here with NBA. I was just in the midst of my prediction with the Western Conference, and I predicted that the Clippers would win the Western Conference and get to the finals under Doc Rivers in his first year as Clippers head coach and play the Miami Heat. And boy, would that be an exciting game, because the Clippers have really played well against the Heat in recent years. So that is my finals prediction. And now we're going to move on to college football. A very, very exciting week in Week 7 for the college football season. A lot of upsets in the top 25, including Stanford losing to Utah. Also, Oklahoma fell to Texas in the Red River Shootout. And another notable upset. I know there was another one here. Where did it go? Michigan fell to Penn State in 4 overtimes, 43-40. And then also Northwestern, the team that Noah's favorite team, Ohio State, played the week before, got absolutely blown out, 35-6 versus Wisconsin. So a lot of upsets, and now we're just going to preview the top 25. A lot of kind of moving around and shifting due to all these upsets this past week. In the SEC, the most notable statistic is that 8 new teams from the SEC are now in the top 25, so that is a new record in college football for 8 teams in one conference being at the top. And just the top 5 to run down: Alabama, number 1, Oregon, number 2, who looked absolutely dominant versus Washington and UW, Clemson, number 3, and Ohio State, number 4, and then the Florida State Seminoles. Let's go, baby. Second favorite team in college football. They're at number 5. And boy, is it going to be an exciting matchup this weekend when Clemson hosts Florida State in Death Valley. College game day will be there, and it's going to be one of the top matchups of the season. I know we've been talking about it for quite some time, but I'm just super stoked and cannot wait to see how Jameis Winston fares in a hostile environment in a battle between 2 top 5 teams.
Yeah, of course, we are 1 week away from the BCS top 25, and definitely, as you said, a lot of shifting went down. You look at the top 25: Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, and Clemson are the top 4. Clemson, Ohio State, flip-flop those 2. But I think, first of all, Ohio State should be above them. I think soon Florida State will be above Clemson. I think Florida State's going to pull off the upset, but a lot of changing going on. And I called it on my prediction show. I said Northwestern would lose to Wisconsin, and they did. Wisconsin back in the top 25. I'm impressed with Fresno State. Missouri looks really good. They look really good. Stanford, tough loss. And a team now that could actually possibly find themselves in a BCS Bowl, possibly the Rose Bowl, UCLA. See, if Oregon ends up in the national championship game, I think that UCLA, and I know Jake will be happy to hear this, has a really good shot of facing Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. I think that Florida State will make one of the top bowls. Definitely be above Clemson for a BCS bid, though I do think in the end both of them will be in BCS bowls. And I also think that LSU looks good as well. And one more team, just really quickly, Baylor, definitely outstanding offensive team, and I'm curious to see how they're going to continue on in the rest of the year.
Yeah, but Baylor hasn't played anybody.
Oh, I know that, but that doesn't mean that their offense hasn't been ridiculous. Who has Louisville played that they are so good about? Who has Teddy Bridgewater gone up against that makes him deserve this spot up there? Look at their schedule. Ohio, Eastern Kentucky, Florida International, Temple, and Rutgers. And he did bad against Rutgers.
Okay, but look at Baylor's schedule versus Wofford, Buffalo, Louisiana Monroe, who played competitive against Arkansas last year, but that was last year. West Virginia, and at Kansas State, who lost to a Division III team, I believe. Can't even say it. North Dakota State beat Kansas State in Kansas City, and Baylor beat them as well. So not very impressive victory, although they are 5-0.
Buffalo is a good team, by the way. They did do decently against Ohio State. They do have one of the best. They actually do have one of the best linebackers in the country, Khalil Mack, who's phenomenal. They destroyed Connecticut, who competed with Michigan. So they did get a good team in there. Kansas State, decent defensively. I think the first matchup you really have to look at is obviously Iowa State next week. Good team. Not necessarily record-wise, but they are a good team. Should provide good competition. They are a good defensive team. And then, of course, you have the stretch Oklahoma, Texas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, then the really good defense, TCU, and then, of course, Texas. That'll be the stretch to really determine their year.
Yeah, okay, so now we got to move on to the SEC, arguably the best conference thus far this season. Also, the Pac-12 gets an honorable mention in there because they've been very good. But the SEC, 8 ranked teams. In the SEC East alone, we have 4 ranked teams out of the 7. And then in the West as well, we have 4 ranked teams out of 7. So very, very even throughout. I really think the interesting division is going to be the East. Missouri currently leads right now with a 6-0 record and 2-0 in conference play. South Carolina, 3-1 in conference play, ranked number 11. Florida ranked number 22, 3-1 in conference play. And then Georgia, I'm very disappointed. I really like this team with Aaron Murray, but 2 losses already through 6 games, even though they played some very tough competition. But injuries have really plagued this team, and they're at number 15. And I really do not think they're going to win this SEC East division.
Yeah, by far, of course, the best team in that. And Mizzou, as I said, looks very good. They really impressed that victory. I did not see that one coming. But their quarterback was injured. Let me look up here really quickly how he did. Jamal, I believe. What's his name? It's Franklin. Do you know his first name, Blake? No, not Jonathan. That's the Packers guy. James Franklin. Unfortunately, he will miss at least 6 weeks. He injured his shoulder, so that's bad news for Missouri. And I think that Missouri will continue to do decently well, but I don't know if they're really the team that beat Georgia anymore after losing that game. I think they're still a very good team. I don't want to disrespect them there. And as you said, the SEC, ridiculously good, but Alabama definitely the best team, as I said. Missouri could compete, possibly end up facing them in the championship game. I look at Missouri's schedule right now. You know, they pulled off a big win over Georgia, but they have 2 straight tough weeks, Florida and South Carolina, and I think they're going to lose at least one of those without James Franklin. If they're able to get him back, they might be able to get him back in time for Texas A&M. But as it's looking right now, I now think that it's really a toss-up actually between Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. I don't think Georgia's done because of their conference record. I think that if Georgia can manage to win their other important games, you know, take for example, they have Vanderbilt, then they have Appalachian State later on, but they have Florida in the middle and Auburn as well. It's going to be interesting to see how the SEC goes for right now. Now on to the next one I want to talk about. As Blake said, the Pac-12 has been very good. And of course, the Pac-12 is led by Oregon. You've got Marcus Mariota, my favorite for the Heisman. If he doesn't win the Heisman, it would only be because, you know, he has a surprise loss, possibly against Stanford and a couple of other teams. So, I don't know how it's going to turn out in the Pac-12. Not on the Oregon side, I know Oregon will win that, but on the other side, you know, with UCLA, I think UCLA should get the win, but it's yet to be seen.
Now, outside of the connection that we have there, that we communicate to society here at National Sports, and we had found coupling status, and I just found out my status now, going back to the telephone, so if my voice does not sound as normal as this is that's with the phone, but we're just going to finish up an episode like this. So where are we at right now in the college football time?
Well, we're just finishing up with the Pac-12, and we're about to go into our Heisman rankings. So let me just finish up with the Pac-12 really quickly. Just explain to you what I was just talking about. I talked about Oregon and how their real threat right now is UCLA, but I was just saying how I think Oregon should run away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. You think Oregon is an elite team. You look at them this weekend versus Washington. It's a very, very well-recruited team under Steve Sarkisian, former USC offensive coordinator, and up there at Washington very well. But this Oregon team was dominant versus a good Washington team up in UW. Home field advantage for the Huskies. I forgot their name for a second. And Marcus Mariota looks like hands down, definitely the front runner for the Heisman so far. He can throw the ball very well. He can run the ball. He's the perfect quarterback for a system like there is in Oregon. And this team definitely looks legit. And although Alabama has proven themselves the past few years as the number 1 team outright, I really do think that they possibly deserve a number 1 ranking with the way they've been playing the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Marcus Mariota transitions perfectly into the Heisman conversation. So I'll just really quickly say my top 3. My number 1, of course, as I said, is Marcus Mariota. Number 2, Johnny Manziel, and Teddy Bridgewater, Taj Boyd, they have dropped for me. And number 3 solely belongs to Jameis Winston now, the freshman. So Jameis Winston's been very impressive, and he's been outstanding, to say the least. good in every single game, but you have all of those people are young players. You've got 2 sophomores and a freshman in my top 3, proving that experience doesn't always mean everything.
Yeah, definitely. I believe in your high school ranking. You put Johnny Master on there, and he looked very good against Old Miss.
Yeah, I did put him in there at second. And I think that he'll still have a good year, and it is Marcus Mariota. It's Marcus Mariota's to win. I would be very surprised if he is unable to.
Even if there's a lot more games to be played.
Yeah, I think that he'll show that he's still fair. The only person I could possibly see him losing his standing as the top one to is Stanford or possibly UCLA, but I think that for right now they are the best. And yeah, we just got Blake. We got Blake back on Skype, so that's good. Blake, is everything working? Do we have to talk on phone still, or is your Skype working?
Fortunately, my Skype is very sketchy as well, so fortunately not able to back but I'm going to tell you guys these technical difficulties. Break just about issues. So stay sorry about that.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna go to commercial break. Blake, I don't think they heard anything you just said. Sorry to say this. But we're gonna go to commercial break really quickly. We'll be right back. We'll wrap it up with Say What and our birthdays. So the first time ever on the Blake and Noah show, we're taking a commercial break literally 5 minutes before the show ends.
You can contact National Sports in a number of ways through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the label National Sports. We love to have you guys a part of our show and can easily join us also through text or call. You're listening to the National Sports radio station on Spreaker.com.
Okay, so
America's pastime of baseball is changing as we know it into a sport we've never seen before. Where is the game headed in the next few years? Major League correspondent Cameron Sadeghi has the answer to that question next on the National Sports radio station from Los Angeles, California.
One, two. This the I'm a Boss remix. Meek Millie. Let's go!
I'm riding, I'm riding by Hollow West Side, right inside of my Beamer 760i. Try me let off 60 shots again. We got the city hiding, popping like it's supposed to be. Do not menage and got no business standing close to me. So cold up ferocious G. Things ain't a dope in me. Mind your business, watch your mouth.
for listening in. And with that, we're going to conclude.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Next week, and if you want to listen to this episode, just look up Blake and Noah on Spreaker.com for national sports. And thank you all. Have a great week, and have a great rest of the night for all you people out there.
Shiny little Beamer with the rag top down, sitting in the drive, but she wouldn't get out. The dogs were all barking and wagging around, and I just laughed and said, "You all get in."